Jeff Ogilvy survives wing foot.
Now the moment Aaron Badley has waited for.
Curry Webb is the 5-time Australian Open champion.
Golf at its best by one of the best in golf, Peter Thompson.
Stand in front of a crowd like this today and win the PGA Championship is pretty special.
He's done it at last. Greg Norman.
Matt Jones gets his name on the Stonehaven Cup.
Leishman to 11 under. Now we've got a new leader, kids.
There it is! Adam Scott. A life changer. Coming up next, you have unrestricted access to golf across Australia and the world. Thanks to Golf Australia, we're going inside the ropes.
G'day everybody and welcome to Inside the Ropes episode 18. Great to have you with us again on another huge week for Australian golf. Mark Hayes joining me, Andy Maher. Hello to you, Hazy. How you going, big fella? Good to see you again.
Murray, I'm pumped. What a week this has been. My phone's been running hot for 5 or 6 days now, ever since Katherine Kirk sort of went nuts at Evian and right through Mark Leishman. It's been a great week for someone doing my gig, so very fortunate.
A lot to talk about from both of those events. Mike Clayton joins us, which is always a joy for us. Clayton, hello to you.
Good, mate. Warrnambool's greatest sportsman.
Well,
Mark Leishman.
Well, name another one.
Well, he's gone way past the Jonathan Brown.
Jonathan Brown, give me.
Gee,
Jonathan Brown, give me a spell.
Yeah.
I mean, we love Brownie, but he doesn't hold a candle now to Mark Leishman.
No, he's the king of Warrnambool.
There's no question about that.
Even the king of Port Fairy.
There you go. You can have the whole southwest region of the West Coast.
If Fletcher Jones was still going, he'd be wearing the Fletcher Jones gear on the tour.
Rodger Davis going to join us on the way through. Our road to the Australian Open series continues. Katherine Kirk, I should say. Some habits just take a lifetime to break, don't they?
That's a tough one.
Katherine Kirk is going to join it. What's happened with that? Because sometimes you see the hyphen apply to her, and sometimes you don't. It's clearly Katherine Kirk. So
her maiden name's Hull, and she's taken a married name, which is Kirk, and that's how she rolls. So
and you've got to break the habit of calling her Katie, which is going to be hard for you.
Yeah, I just call her Katie because she just looks like Katie to me. She looks like a Katie. But
Matty Guy's going to join us.
You and my grandfather, the only two that call me that.
Matty Guy's going to join us just for a couple of minutes as well. Mate. Did you ever not, before we get into the business, did you ever not, or take a lot of time to get a cheque deposited into your bank account from...
No, the French used to take 6 weeks. They would, but they weren't great. But no, one year I didn't get any, but they paid out some counterfeit. They used to pay cash on the Asian tour. You would line up and they would just hand out the cash. And they handed out some counterfeit US dollars one year in Indonesia, I think.
When did you find out it was counterfeit?
I didn't. A few weeks later.
Right.
I think when Terry Gale took the winners prize to the bank, and they said, "This isn't real."
Do you know what he did thereafter?
I'm not sure, but that was the ultimate payout. Was you used to file into the office after the tournament. They would just hand out the. So I remember when I sent my wife home with $30,000 or $40,000 in cash. I said, you've lost a lot of things in your life, but don't you dare lose this.
Andrew Gaze tells a story about coming home from when he was playing in Greece, playing basketball in Greece. Yeah. And they used to pay in cash as well, and they didn't know how to get the cash back to Australia. So he got his wife to put. They had a newborn child. They were putting like $15,000 worth of Australian dollars worth of cash in their baby's nappy.
In the nappies,
the nappies, trying to get the money back into Australia through customs and all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. He's been on. I hope he's on the public record having told that story. If he isn't, sorry, Gazy, we've just got the
ATO's number.
They'll be giving you a call.
I'm sure he owned up to that income and paid the government precisely as he should have.
Well, he's a very
honest bloke.
My word, he is.
Yeah, he's a very honest bloke.
He always told me he was happy to change nappies. I never realised why.
A beautiful man. Okay, what a week it's been. The second last of the FedEx Cup playoff events, the BMW Championship, belonged to Mark Leishman, not through anybody falling over, not through him shooting 62 in the final round to blow everyone away. He just played 4 awesome rounds of golf and never, ever looked like he was going to take his foot off the throat of this tournament. It was a masterful display from Leishman.
I've wanted to say this on air for a long time. He pantsed them, Andy.
He did.
He pantsed them, and this is effectively the top 70 players in the world. I mean, there are a couple of exceptions who weren't there, European, but this is the elite. It's the second last playoff event of the year. Everyone who's anyone's there, basically. So, full kudos to him. He's smashed them from pillar to post and did it with a leg in the air. All these cliches in one sentence.
I love it. No, I don't think you've cleared the deck. I think you've got a few more up your sleeve somewhere. Justin Rose makes a bit of a kind of run at it and gets, I think, within two at about the sort of turn in the final round. And if you're a believer in kind of the jitters, maybe that was the point where Leash was going to make a blue, but he didn't. I mean, he just sort of gathered himself and burnt Rose off. I mean, it was an unbelievable performance.
Yeah, 15's he missed a short birdie putt at the par 5, and then 15's a little drivable par 4. He had a great little flip over the bunker to a couple of feet, and then made the birdie up the hill at 16, which was the end of it really. So it was over after 16. But I think Rose got within a couple, having played the easy holes before Leishman had played them. So it was kind of a fake two-shot lead because Leash had to play the two holes that were birdieable, and he birdied them and went 4 ahead again. And so it was.
He set a record. I mean, I think he might have. Did he finish level with Tiger's scoring record in a FedEx event? I'm not sure, but 23 under was immense, and I think it was right there with Tiger. But what he did do, Andy, was set a par 4 scoring record for the tour this year, like the lowest score combined on par 4. So he didn't just, some guys sometimes, as Clayton was saying, a fake lead might be there. Some 68s are just 18 pars with 4 short par 5s. He actually earned this on the par 4s. I mean, it was a dominant performance. He drives it beautifully.
Oh, he's awesome.
His putting stats have been off the charts all year, and it all came together here. And who knows? He could be Warrnambool's richest man as well as its best export.
Probably is. He's already made $27 million. I think I saw that.
$27 million.
I think I saw that splashed up somewhere. His career earnings are $27 million.
I mean, Jim Mackay, Mickelson's old caddy, commentating now, calling him the most underrated player in golf before last week. And he could walk out. We're looking out in the city of Melbourne. I mean, he could walk out there tomorrow and no one would recognise him.
Yeah.
They would recognise every bloke who's playing the AFL finals this week.
It's true.
They wouldn't recognise him.
Can I give a bait to someone, Andy?
Go your hardest.
There's a journalist who works in the States called Alan Shipno.
Oh, yeah, he had a rip.
Cop that.
Honestly, he's been on Leishman's case for 3 years.
Well, it started at the Open, didn't it?
It was embarrassing
Andrews,
what he said about him.
Well, that's when it came to public sort of light in those circles anyhow. And he just said this would be a disgrace for golf. There's no backstory. There's nothing going on here. He's a nobody. And there was almost a civil war in the press tent. It was extraordinary. People, not just Australians, were just like throwing all sorts of labels his way. Well, he's maintained this rubbish for the last 2 years, and now the world's clamouring for this story, not just the good golf, but the background story of Audrey, his wife, being 5% chance of survival. The kids, his brilliant attitude, his work for charity, his mowing the lawns instead of going to the gym. There's so many good aspects to this story, and there's one idiot who sits in his ivory tower and still throws sort of bullets at Mark Leishman. And I just, right now, on behalf of Australian golf, Alan Shipnutt, you can bugger off, mate. You can absolutely bugger off.
He's a good writer. I kind of follow him on Twitter and quite like him, and we've had back and forth. But, yeah, it's the Dan Jenkins line of always rooting for the best story. And that Open, I mean, Zach Johnson was hardly the best story, and nor was probably Louis. And just write about the kid who won. I mean,
find the story.
Find the story.
Yeah,
don't just
story.
wait for the thing to be handed in your lap. I mean, Jack Nicklaus can't win every tournament.
He's a great writer, but there's no excuse for this sort of stuff. And we get our back up. I get my heckles up now with defending Australian golfers, but that was just nonsense.
And it was as silly as Dan Jenkins having a pot at Finchy for the Open at Birkdale thing. I mean, it was like, come on, guys. I mean, you wouldn't say that about an American player.
Exactly.
No, of course, no. Yeah. It was shallow, and it was an indictment on him as a journalist. I mean, Hazy, you've chased yarns, and you get somebody dished up to you. It's your challenge to find something that makes this guy's story or this girl's story, this person's story, compelling, and he just clearly too lazy to do it because he's not that hard. Hey, if the story is this bloke's a really likeable fella and he's a really good man and he's a really decent human being, and wouldn't this be great for him to win this? If that's the story you've got, then that's not a bad yarn.
No, exactly.
It's not a bad yarn.
To be fair to Shipnutt, he wrote a magnificent piece. Was it McKeel? Sean McKeel? I'm not sure. He must have potted him at the time as saying he wrote a list of
the
worst PGA champions.
Which were the worst players to win, mate. It was like such a bullshit list anyway. I mean, the guy wins a major. He's not, sure some have been better players than others, but anyone who wins a major, you get 4 points for that. I don't care who you are.
So I think the story this year went with that he and McKeel had a great sort of coming together, and people had told Shipnuck that he sort of feared for his life because this guy was rampant about this even years later, and they came together and had chatted it out, and the story is absolutely fantastic. It's a riveting read, like really impressive journalism. So he's got it in him.
Don't square up now.
I'm not squaring him up.
I'm
giving him the absolute mega bugger off, and don't bother being so xenophobic about American golfers in comparison to the rest of us.
So Leishman's up to 15 in the world. You can get as excited as you like about world golf rankings. That's really world golf rankings aren't really going to apply to Mark Leishman now. I mean, he's going to play in everything that he needs to play in anyway. He's up to number 4. He goes into the tour final. The 4th ranked player going in. We're probably not going to spend an awful lot of time talking about Jason Day because he's been lost in the wake of Mark Leishman a little bit. But Jason Day was right in the frame, and there was a couple of weeks ago on this podcast that we started to speculate that maybe the game was coming back. And again, he looks one of his robust swings away from breaking down all the time. Jason Day, and he played the 2nd or 3rd round with one of the early rounds with what appeared to be some sort of back ailment.
Yeah,
But he's still hitting at 370 yards. Like, he was still swinging the ball hard.
He hit one 366 up the 18th on Saturday. If not for a double bogey on I think it was the 11th, he'd have been right in the mix, and he might have been the legitimate challenger.
Yeah.
Because I agree with Clates. Rose was there, but it was only in theory. Well, but Day's starting to show it. He's going to be riddled with this injuries thing forever. He's not going to play until he's 70, Andy. Nope. So we've got to take it when it's there, and I reckon it's coming.
Are you seeing something in Leishman Clates that'll tell you that he's ready to kind of take it? I mean, next level from here is pretty extraordinary. There's only one more level to take it to, really.
Major,
yeah, that's it.
So, and he's been close. Obviously, clearly lost a player for the Open. He was close when Scotty won the Masters Augusta in 12 or 13. So, 14, whatever it was. So, yeah, he's clearly capable of winning. You've just got to, in a sense, get lucky and do it in the right week.
I'm not advocating that on the PGA Tour they play speed golf, but just before we get too far away from this, Wes Bryant goes out on his own in the last round and shoots 69 in 1 hour and 29 minutes.
Running,
that's an extreme.
Yeah.
That's extreme, obviously, but here we go again. There are some players out there who are dead set death of the game unless they are given some incentive to speed themselves up. I mean, there's some slumber, some stuff going on out there.
I need to go and watch how they play in Japan, where they run. If they're behind, they run. In fact, I was at Sandringham Golf Course last week. 4 Japanese women running up the fairway to catch up to the group ahead. There was a 2-ball ahead, and they were running to catch up.
Right.
So, I mean, someone should play a tournament with a shotgun finish. So everyone obviously tees off the first hole, but every group, you got 4 hours to finish. If you're not finished in 4 hours, you're done off.
Yep.
And they would all finish in 4 hours. They would all finish easily.
Nothing's going to be done about this. I don't know why we waste our breath talking about it.
I mean, when I was playing in Europe 30 years ago, they were banging on about it. Nothing's happened. It's what it is.
It is what it is. Katherine Kirk, not too far away from joining us, we'll get her view on what took place in the final of the women's majors for the year, the Evian Championship. There's been a lot of commentary about this, like the diminishing of the major status, asterisk on the tournament. No disrespect to the winner, but you two have you played a lot of golf where there's been inclement conditions, Clayton. You've seen a lot of tournaments, and you've probably been around when some tough decisions have been made about whether we continue to play on Hazy. What did we make of the way they decided on this one?
I'm just going to have my little 2 bobs worth and then clear the decks for Clates to just unload here. There are definite reasons why you have 54-hole tournaments. Very few of these apply in a major championship, if any. Clates will talk to you a bit more about that probably. I don't want to preempt what he's going to say. But you don't have talk about a Pro-Am or a big money spending event on the Monday at the host club clouding any judgment about what might or might not happen during a major championship, and I'm going to clear the decks for Clates.
Well, having played in Europe a lot, I very quickly learned that there were always very good commercial reasons for making a very bad decision, and the commercial always wins out, and the sponsor always wins out. And I'm sure there were reasons why they didn't try and at least play 72 holes, and it was what it was. I mean, having said that, we played an Australian Open 15 years ago that only went 54 holes, and they decided that at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. That was a terrible decision too. But I suspect that was controlled by Channel 7. But I mean, in Australia, in the middle of summer, we easily could have played 72 holes at Victoria that year, and we didn't. And that was a bad decision too, I think. But
and
anyway.
The Australian Golf Union got widely panned for that, like smashed from pillar to post. But that's nothing compared to a major championship.
No.
Well, clearly Evian have bought airtime here. They bought 4 days of airtime, and they knew when the cut-off point was that their airtime that they'd purchased was going to finish at 6 o'clock local time, and they weren't going to get another bang for any of their bucks. So let's get it finished. The scenes in the playoff where they've got squeegees on the chip lines of Eldemar, and I mean it was ridiculous what they forced Norquist and Eldemar to play in that playoff.
Yeah, it was. I would argue that the Australian Open is a much more significant event than the Evian. The Evian's a fake bought major by a sponsor who's paid for it. So let's not confuse the Australian Open with the Evian. The Australian's a much more significant event than the Evian.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying once it's got the tag major championship, it goes to a whole other level of importance. I'm not in comparison to the Australian Open. It's just with the reverence it must be treated, and not have corporate commercial imperatives that override what is presumably the 5th biggest tournament in women's golf all year.
Yeah. And it doesn't compare with the other 4 women's majors either, really. I mean, no one's seriously thinking that it's a commercial event that the sponsors put $2 million more than a regular event into, and they've been given the status as a major championship. I mean, it's the Players' Championship, the Tour can't ever convince anyone the Players' Championship's a major.
I want to go out and hit the hustings, Clates. I'm going to see if I can rattle up about $4 million worth of sponsors for the Women's Australian Open. We might make that the 6th major. What do you think?
Well, it's a bigger question, but given the importance of women's golf in Asia and the dominance of Asian players, why isn't there a major championship in Asia? That's where it should be, and it should as opposed to, say, the Hana Bank being a major championship in Korea, it should move around Asia, because women's golf is in Japan, in China, in obviously Thailand with the Juchanagan sisters,
Taiwan.
Obviously in Korea, Taiwan, Australia, even part of Asia. There should be a major in this part of the world in women's golf, and there's not. And one of the reasons is that they've got this Evian, which is I mean, Stacey Lewis didn't play.
They had issues a couple of years ago, didn't they? Mm-hmm. They had weather-related issues about 5 years ago. They had. So clearly they've got some climatic, local climatic issues at that time of the year that are unstable. And this, depending on how long this thing stays around for,
having said
might
that,
not be the last time we see
the last thing we'll be doing is criticising a sponsor for pouring money into women's golf.
No.
I mean, Evian get way more points than they lose for what they've done for the tournament.
Correct.
So it's in a sense we can have a shot at what it is, but they get a lot of points for pouring way more. I mean, Sue O, who I dearly love and have spent a lot of time with, she made $52,000 last week, which was that's double what she would have made on a regular tour event. So the last thing we should be doing is taking cheap shots at a sponsor who's done a lot for women's golf.
I'm not definitely doing that. I just want to make sure that any championship that has the title major put upon it is given, treated with the gravity it deserves.
Yeah.
So there's one last thing on the local stuff before we get off this, and I shouldn't be doing this because I might be costing myself some work down the track. But my TV exists at home on Fox Sports 90% of the time. That's what I've got it on. So my life without the swag of product that is brought to me on my Foxtel sports suite, my life would be poorer without it. But how you can commit to a tournament for 3 days and of a major championship and then get to the final day, and admittedly it was a busy night of sport around the world, but how you can commit to that and then just say, nah, we're going to have some superbike event somewhere that hasn't got Australian. We might have one Australian. Don't know whether Jack Miller's still riding, but it might have an Australian in it. We got an Australian who's contending for this tournament. Then they decide just not to put it on. No, we're not going to put it on any of our channels that we have available to us. And don't apologise for that. Don't make any statement about that. I was lamenting the fact that this was the case on Twitter, and somebody said, "Oh, it's live on YouTube." Now, I don't know whether I should be saying this, but I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I went on YouTube, and it was live on YouTube for free. The final round of the Evian Championship. Now, I don't know whether this is a regular weekly occurrence. I know there are smart people out there who can bring things in from all over the place illegally, and I'm not one of those. But I went and spent more time on YouTube that night than I did on Fox Sports, and they've cost themselves a viewer. And I just don't know whether you can do that to a viewing audience. You can't string them along for 3 days and then not give them.
Not have it. Yeah.
No, you can't do that.
It was woeful.
+1 for me, Andy. Everything you said, ditto. And I even if it comes to the choice of putting the KLM Open
they should
back a little bit, I mean, you have to treat this thing with the gravity it deserves. It's simple again. And I did exactly the same thing. I watched it on my iPhone until 2:30 in the morning, and my eyes were absolutely cooked on Monday.
I bet they were.
But the YouTube was the only way to do it. And, you know, Katherine Kirk was in this to her eyeballs until the 71st hole. I mean, it was something that...
53rd hole.
Oh, good point. Good point, Clayton. 53rd hole. So, you know, it's something that had an Australian appeal, and I think it was a bad decision. And I think, more to what you said, Fox has got an obligation which it neglects almost religiously, in that it never responds to people's criticisms. Like, one quick tweet could actually fix that, because it will be disseminated among the intended audience.
Well, just make a statement.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, due to contractual obligations with other events and other sports around and our limited number of channels, we will not be able to bring you. We apologise. Just keep us in the loop, because it gets to the time when you want to watch it, and it's been on the previous 3 nights, and you turn the tally on and it's not there, and you spend 20 minutes flicking around going, surely it's coming on at some stage, and it doesn't bob up.
And if it wasn't for the golf, I wouldn't have Foxtel.
Well, I'm a bit
the only reason I've got Foxtel is because of the golf.
Why can't we get the Golf Channel in Australia?
I don't know, but I'm not sure. We should.
Can we do that? Can you?
Well,
you're a powerful man, Hazy. Can you make this happen?
Well, I think I don't know, and I will. Maybe this is my homework for the weekend, and I'll report back to you next week. I understand that it's probably contractual, an ownership conflict between Fox and Golf Channel.
Oh, okay, right.
But I'll double check that.
Yeah, I'm sure it costs some money as well. But
there's been a push to have that happen, but it never got off the ground. And Golf Channel is always angling to expand its audience.
Well, maybe if there's an issue from Fox's, but maybe they want to do it. Maybe they want to bring the Golf Channel into Australia, but they can't. Maybe we should get somebody from Fox Sports on next week to explain why that's the case. Just give us the information, and we'll all be clearer.
I'll try and put it on my homework.
Hey, just before we get off the men's game. Oh, no, we've already got off the men's game. I'll go back to the men's game. You mentioned the KLM Open on the way through there. We're not going to spend too much time talking about Romain Wattel.
No, we're going to talk about Austin Connolly.
That's what we're going to talk about.
The 14-year-old, the 20-year-old looks like he's 14.
The dog who will get the last piece of meat.
Coached by Cameron McCormack.
Who told us that last week.
Who was, what an amazing performance. I mean, the kid's he looks like he's 14. He looks like he plays like a 14-year-old. Mm. He's made 400,000 euros in Europe this year in 9 tournaments. Played beautifully in the Open Championship at Birkdale. Cleaned up second place at the amazing performance.
And if he'd putted quarter decently, would have won by 2 shots, I reckon.
So last week, McCormick says to us on the show, "I like if you threw a bit of meat in between him."
Who's
and
going to fight the hardest for it? Yep.
He'd be the one that he'd be the dog that comes up with a bit of meat at the end of it. Well, he shoots 66-66 on the weekend, and exactly right, Hazy. But for a lukewarm putter, he probably wins the tournament. He's a player. He's just a player to watch, because he's clearly got an astute coach guiding him, and he's got a heart that means that when the moment comes for him, he's going to be able to put himself in the
water. In one sense, he's actually really boring to watch. He's like expressionless.
Does nothing.
But in the other sense, it's like, how's this kid doing this? This is amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Are you going?
Before we leave the men's game, I'm just going to need to put on the into the mix, Andy, the web.com finals.
I was going to ask you about that.
It's reached a bit of a crescendo, and unfortunately, just off Twitter in the last couple of hours, Scott Hand has sort of thrown a spanner into the works by he's not going to compete in the third week this week because he's got a sore back, which is sort of it's not really surprising given how much time he spends in an aeroplane, but he's unfortunately going to miss out. So
So he's what? Is he 14th? Is that where he is?
No, he was
He's
around
27.
30th. Yeah.
27,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So he's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's
25 get their cards.
So
right?
Curtis Luck's 26, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
And we've got 4 guys who have made the cut both weeks in the first 2 weeks of the 4 weeks of the
So
finals.
there's 2 to go.
2 to go, and 4 guys who have missed the cut twice. They need to finish, for those guys to get their card next year, they need to finish solo 5th or better in any of the last 2 events.
Don't you have to make about 37,000 in the
Which
4
is
events?
solo 5th will get you there, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So they basically come down to that. They can't do it on consistency anymore.
So that's Appleby, Jones, Gibson, and Arnold. They're those 4?
Correct.
Yep.
Now,
They're done.
the big hope at the moment, statistically, is Cameron Percy, who's had 2 great weeks. Bar a couple of late bogeys the other day, he would have finished right on the cusp of the top 5 and sewn it up, but he's actually tied 14.
Yeah, he's
14th. Okay, so I knew someone was 14th. And Curtis is 26, so Curtis needs a... I was talking to Craig Bishop this morning on the way here. He's got to have a couple of top 20s probably, or...
Yep.
So with
something decent.
that's right. So with Hend, can Hend miss this tournament and play the last one?
Yes, he can.
Okay.
And again, the top 5 will definitely get him through, but where he stands right now, probably maybe a top 6 or 7 might get him through, but he's going to have to really push hard in that 4th week, presuming his back gets up and about again.
So that's where we're at with 2 events left to go there. We're continuing.
We didn't mention Brett Druitt. Sorry, he's the
he's the other one,
the 4th Australian who's just over 30th. I think
34th, yeah,
34th.
So right in the mix, like right in the mix.
He can still get through with two top 10s, maybe. Those 4 guys can get through on consistency. The other 4 need to really kick some butt.
There's a lot to say, Clates, that event is far more interesting than what's going on with the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I don't care who wins $10 million. I've got no interest in Mark Leishman winning another $10 million. But, yeah.
They're right on the edge, these guys.
This is way more interesting.
Yeah, I reckon it is too.
This is proper choking.
Spot on, and that's always fun to watch. Hannah Green, Hazy, we're batting about 95% with Hannah Green per episode on Inside the Ropes, and there's some fantastic news.
Oh, this is the one we've been waiting for, Andy.
Yeah.
We had her on a couple of weeks ago, and she said expressly, if I can just do something in the next couple of weeks and sew it up and take the pressure off, and she just played one of the great rounds of her young career, 64, bogey-free 64 in the final round the other day in Arkansas.
Yep. Or Arkansas, as some people...
Arkansas. How can they pronounce Warwick?
I don't know.
And then go Arkansas out of Arkansas.
Well, why don't we call it...
What are they on about?
Consor. Why isn't Kansas Consor?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's just... Well...
Is that right? I've got that right.
You have.
Yeah, you've got that right.
Yeah.
Tom Watson from...
The Consor City... Kansas City... Yeah, right.
Well, she won the El Dorado shootout.
yeah.
And,
this is great news.
So she came from 7 back in the final round with 8 birdies, blemish-free, and just steamrolled through the field and won her second time on the Symetra Tour this year. It's not a battlefield promotion, but she did sew up just by virtue of the money she's made. Promotion of the LPGA Tour. So hats off to Hannah Green from Mount Lawley in Perth. Just a great young woman and another person to follow with sort of great vigour in the next few years on the LPGA Tour.
Awesome.
Nice bit of jewellery she won too. 10 grand.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, before we get back to where we started, in terms of the counterfeit counterfeit money coming in from that tournament in Indonesia or wherever it was, and we speak to somebody who's going through something like that at the moment. The PGA released its schedule this week. 49 weeks out of 52, there's going to be a PGA Tour event somewhere on planet Earth. And they were very, very quick to point out that, historically, we've had this sort of number in the past. Is this just greedy?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't do the rest of the world any good. I mean, Australia had that. Dave, talking about Nicholas and Palmer, those guys used to come down here at the end of the year because there was a big window at the start because the Europeans had nowhere to play. Now they're playing in Dubai and through there, so it squeezes us really tight at the end of the year. But in fairness, they're the weakest tournaments on the tour, so hopefully we can attract a few guys back here to play.
The groan factor on that is very high for me.
Very high.
Very, very high.
Yeah, it's like, take your... they're all complaining about going up against football, yet they're very happy to smash the rest of the world by sticking their tournaments in at the back end of the... Well, they start 2018 in October 2016. It's
the International Federation of Tours must just... I mean...
Of course.
Speaking of white rabbits, or what's the phrase?
White elephant.
White elephants.
Yeah.
I mean, because they just go in there and they tell the rest of the tours what they're doing.
Yeah.
It can't happen any other way.
Yeah, it's like the United Nations.
A little bit.
Donald Trump at least had that right last week.
Don't give him any credit on this podcast.
You're right. You're right.
We saw overnight there was the Joburg Open, Clates, is now going to be tri-sanctioned. And the exact it's almost the antithesis of the USPGA Tour. It's now going to be European Sunshine Tour and Asian Tour, tri-sanctioned, the Joburg Open.
Yeah.
So that all the people from other parts of the world can come and play based on their rankings on their home tour, which I think is great.
Can you see a day coming when you've got the PGA Tour, which is itself, the mega kind of tour that it is, and just one other tour where everything conglomerate, all other tours around the world just conglomerate.
Well, if that tour got itself organised, there's no reason in 20 or 30 years why it couldn't be the mega tour.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, let the PGA, because it's just doing what it does for its own commercial interests. And if it's not meeting the demands of the majority of professional players on the planet, well, let's pull, like the Joburg, let's pull all these other tours together and have a 49-week tour itself that provides...
we kind of do have that. We
sort of do.
The Japanese have a pretty decent-sized tour. The Europeans have a big tour. The problem is that to get the mega money, you need the mega players. You need Rory to play, and you need those, the big stars to go and play. And
it's true.
They're in America, and they've got. We don't pay appearance money in America. No, we don't pay appearance money. But when they get to 50, you give them $50 million in superannuation fund. Don't tell me you don't pay appearance money in America.
There you go. Hey, just before we get to our first guest on the show, apropos of unpaid tournament monies owed, did anybody notice that Tigers tournament hasn't got a sponsor?
Yeah, we did notice that.
Is that of any interest to anyone?
No.
Okay. So we started the show, Clates. We started today's show.
Tiger's wife can sponsor it. His first wife can sponsor it.
There you go. She can buy about half the countries on planet Earth if she wanted to.
Yeah.
I started asking you about not getting paid from any tournament monies that you're owed, and Matty Guyatt, a highly regarded Australian Tour pro, put out a tweet this week that that's exactly what's happened to him with the China Open, sponsored by Volvo, of course. Reputable car manufacturing companies prepared to put its name on the tournament. He's been owed some money that hasn't found its way to him at this particular point in time, and I can't believe this can actually happen. So we thought, let's get Matty Guyatt on the phone and see how it can actually happen. Matthew Guyatt joins us on Inside the Ropes. Hello, mate.
G'day, guys. How are you all?
We're going okay. We won't ask you for a snip at the moment because you're waiting for some money to find it. I mean, give us what's actually the situation, the status of the situation you find yourself in.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, I hadn't had the chance to go and play the Volvo China, but, it's renowned around the world as quite a big tournament on the European Tour and certainly with One Asia over the last few years, it's been a leg up into a $3 million plus event for the guys through One Asia, and that means a lot of Aussie guys. And I found myself in a position where I got to go play this year, and pretty excited to go. And look, for all intents and purposes, it was a great week. The tournament was fantastic, great location. Went and spent some time climbing the Great Wall of China, ticked that off the bucket list. But then, make the 4 days, come home, and there's no money coming. A month later, I've been paid already for the tournament the week after, which was a One Asia event in Korea. So that money arrived, and then I started popping questions back to One Asia, what's happening, and here we are 5 months later, and I'm still sending those emails out. So I guess my understanding at this very moment is that Volvo hasn't paid the money to either European Tour or One Asia to pay their players. So European Tour players have been paid, is my understanding, but they've been paid out of European Tour funds. And the European Tour are now trying to recoup the money from Volvo to put back into their bank account, but One Asia is not in a position to do that for us. So we sit and wait.
And the European Tour has not expressed any interest to look after, its non-card holding players?
Yeah, European Tours, they've been pretty good to deal with in this discussion because quite easily they could have said, look, you're not part of our tour and you entered the tournament through One Asia and you'll have to deal with it that way. But, no, they've been really good in dealing with them. And they're certainly, I'm probably getting more info out of those guys than our One Asia guys. So, I guess not right now. They're not right in the position to say that they're going to pay us, but they've also told me that they're fairly confident that the money's forthcoming. They don't have a date for me, but they're pretty confident that they're going to get their money back through Volvo pretty soon, and subsequently, we'll obviously see it as well. So I think that they would, if that wasn't to be the case, then that they might well help out a little bit more. But they're pretty confident that the money's forthcoming soon. But it doesn't help me pay the mortgage, which has been coming out for 5 months.
How much is it, Matty?
For me, it's about $6 or $7 grand US.
Okay.
I think, from memory off the top of my head. But all that adds up and counts.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, life bills just keep coming, and we don't get to avoid that. And I said to someone this week after I put that tweet out, and I just thought, wow, I didn't realise it was going to create a big storm in the teacup. I actually probably wish I should have done it 4 months ago, actually. But certainly, I said to someone, look, if you're in any job and you did the work and you weren't paid 5 months later, you'd be kicking up a stink. So it doesn't matter whether you're an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer. Bloody hell, a lawyer would be all over you, wouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely they would. What does it do to the credit? I mean, does it do anything to the credibility of the actual event? I mean, here we are 5 months later and you haven't been paid. I mean, is it an event that you want to rush back to? I mean, you mentioned kind of how, it's a big deal, obviously, the purse and, the reputation of the tournament. Does it make you sort of wonder whether it's a kind of event you want to go and play in next time?
I think even bigger than that maybe is that it, I would have to say the European Tour are in a position where they'll be questioning whether they have that on their schedule again because, they're dealing with the same issues that I'm dealing with. They've paid out, and the bulk of the guys making the cut over the weekend were from the European side, not from the One Asia side. So they've obviously shelled out a fair bit of coin, and they're trying to recoup that money right now. So I'm guessing that they're in a position where they'd be questioning having that as part of their tour again. But at the same time, I also question both the European Tour and the One Asia Tour in regard to, surely their protocols are to have the money in the bank prior to the tournament going ahead. So what happened there and where was the breakdown? I can't imagine there's many tours in the world that run the tour, have the event happen, and then try and get the money out of the sponsors. So, I think there must have been a breakdown, but I don't know the ins and outs of that.
I remember it happened once on the American tour. A guy called Larry Hinson won in 1971 or 2, where the tour paid the whole prize money. Sponsor had no money. There was no money there. The tour finished up paying the whole lot.
Yeah.
Matty, it's
to see whether that happened again. That tournament happened again the next year.
No, it didn't happen again.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Matty, it's Hazy. What's the talk on tour among guys, just generally about China? It's gone through some interesting times. The USPGA Tour has had a dalliance. It's been booted out or whatever happened there. I'm not sure. It was booming. It's no longer. From a professional golfer's perspective, what's the talk on tour?
Yeah, it's interesting, Hazy, and it's always great to catch up with you, mate. I think when I was up in China, it was interesting talking to a few people up there about it, and the general feeling up there was that, when golf in China was booming a few years ago, and all of a sudden all these courses, were popping up all over the place. And look, they're quality golf courses, and this one was that we played. But the understanding up there and the chatter was that, when they got the land to build all these golf courses, a lot of that land was local farmland, local-owned farmland with farmers, and they were promised that they would be given work in the hotels and all the rest of it that were going to be built on these golf courses. And a lot of those golf courses didn't end up building hotels, and just there's a golf course there, but not the hotel on site. And so subsequently, a lot of that work that was promised to the locals hasn't ever eventuated. And there's been a change at the top end of the political regime in China, and the guy who's in charge now is less golf. Favours golf a little less, and so he's that's the word, is that he's just been starting to crack the whip on golf courses. So golf courses are starting to close down because they didn't do the right thing by the locals, and so it's a bit of a change. And then on the financial side of things, I know the guys playing on the China Tour this year, which was obviously linked to PGA Tour last year, a lot of those guys are struggling a little bit to get their money as well. Unless they've got a localized bank account in China, they're not getting paid. So they have to somehow find a way to get a bank account opened in China, which is easier said than done as well. So yeah, look, I think it's it's sad in a way because I think they did build so many good golf courses. And Clayton, you might know a little bit more about that, being the course designer now. But there certainly was a lot of quality golf courses, and it would be nice to actually have more events in China showcasing those courses, and hopefully growing the game worldwide, because we know the population in China is enormous. So
well, I think didn't they ban government officials from playing golf? I think that they've been banned from playing, and I think golf shot itself in the foot, or developers did, by not getting the proper permits. I think the government said enough. I mean, I can understand why they, in many cases, they built a golf course in a national park in some unbelievable mountain rocky side in the middle of China. So it was an incredible looking course that's shut down now. But, golf shot itself in the foot by not doing the right thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one for the scuttlebutt side that we have never introduced into this program, Andy, but there's talk, very, very loose talk about the Hong Kong Open's future, which is, not, I wouldn't say time-honoured, but it's been going for a long time.
Family,
a great event on the European Tour now as well. That its immediate future could theoretically be in jeopardy because of China's attitude towards golf clubs.
Really?
And, will that one exist in a few years' time? So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
You heard anything about that, Matty? Have you picked up any chatter about that?
No, not about that one. Sorry, guys. Okay. It's a bit outside my...
I think that's been
lack of pay grade.
I think that one's been under the government have been threatening Royal Hong Kong Hong Kong now for.
Yeah.
But they've got 3 courses there, so I suspect, as I said to you the other day, I don't think it's the whole place. I think they might leave them a decent amount of golf, but 3 courses in a place that's pressed for space, it's a luxury, and one of them's not a very good course. So,
Matty, we're only talking to you because you put it out on Twitter, and we wouldn't know about it otherwise. So can you, when the money does find its way into the bank account, can you, put out a little tweet as well saying everything's okay and the money's in, and we'll do a follow up on the show when we read that tweet from you, mate. That'd be great.
Mate, no problem at all. It's great to be here, guys, and more than happy to talk anything golf anytime. So give us a bell.
You're a good man. Thanks for joining us.
Good luck with
all
it,
the best.
All right, thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, mate.
Matty Guyatt joining us on Inside the Ropes. Last one before we get to break. Katherine Kirk's going to join us next. Speaking of Twitter, I saw you putting out a whole lot of stuff yesterday, you being Mike Clayton, as I point to you, about a little par 3 course in an unbelievable piece of real estate here in Australia, Stubbley Park. Why did you feel compelled to start tweeting about what you're observing there?
We do a little work at Yarrabend where Jeff Ogilvy's a part holder of the lease there. And we were just talking about it. And I'd played there once when I was a kid. I remember taking the tram there with my mate, a little 9-hole. We got famous because the Age used to run a big hole-in-one competition there. And the winner would get 2 tickets to the British Open to watch the Open Championship. And a couple of times pros won it and they went and played the Open. So it was a charity thing. You put your money in. They used the first hole, and it was a pretty cool little course. It was 9 par 3s. And my memory of it was in pretty good condition. So we were talking about it at Yarrabend yesterday, and I was like, I'll jump in the car, and rather than going straight through Kew Junction, I'd drive right, and I drove in there, and there's a nice cafe there, and it's great views of the city, and it's in an amazing location. And there are 9 mats on the middle of the tees that are otherwise covered in dirt or weeds. There's almost literally no grass on the greens, and if it's alive, it's not bent grass or poa. So it's the fairways are weeds. It's just an utterly degraded, rundown, horribly conditioned golf course. I saw 2 blokes walking around with 2 or 3 clubs because that's all you need to play. But par 3, it was a really cool little place, great place for people to start golf, to play golf, and it should be. Parks Victoria own it; they control it. And it's covered in beautiful old river red gums, beautiful trees. Either mash the golf over and turn it into a park, or fix the golf
Well,
up.
that's what the latter is.
One
what
or
we
the
want.
other.
Yeah, we want the latter.
I mean, sell it and pay for the same-sex the gay marriage referendum. It's got to be worth $122 million at least.
Double. The land itself will be worth double that, I reckon.
You could build hospitals with it.
Have you been there, Hazy? Have you seen where this course is?
Yeah.
It's got incredible views over the city. It's right in the middle of, Studley Park and Kew. It's a beautiful... I mean, obviously I would like to see it as a decent golf facility. Just... they're decent holes. You need to rebuild them, but either make it great golf so people who go there think golf's a cool game. I mean, if you'd never played golf before and you walked out and you thought this is golf, I mean, why would you play this game? It's horrible.
Make it a...
So do something with it. Either give it up or make it decent, but don't just leave it as it is.
How good would it be if it was a golf... I know there's health and safety issues. If you're going to make it a golf course, you can't just let people go walking all over the place. But wouldn't it be nice if that was the one place where you could take... you go for a game of golf and they don't mind you having a baby in a pram, or you can take your dog for a walk on the course, providing it's a well behaved animal. And if it was that, if they made it a decent golf course that opened itself up to that sort of golf course behaviour, and I imagine for Studley Park here in Victoria, there would be a golf course like this, a public golf course facility like this in just about every state in Australia. We need to keep these organs alive because they are the things that breathe life into the game and are entree points for people into the sport. So it's really important, I reckon.
There's a lot of ongoing debate, particularly in Sydney, with a few courses that we've mentioned here. You say Rosny Park, maybe Clayton in Hobart, for example, is a course that once was but is no longer a patch on what it used to be. I would have thought that this might have been an example of somewhere where you could potentially sell a chunk of land off and finance 6-hole course or a 4-hole course or something like that. We don't need to be wedded to 9 or 18.
But it's a tiny little 9-hole course. I mean, I walked it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You could play it in 45. But if someone wanted to go out there and park a picnic on the third green and sit there all day, they wouldn't have a problem doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's out there playing. It's just, I don't mind governments taking golf away if they invest more in other golf somewhere else to make that better.
Correct.
The state can do with better Melbourne-based public golf courses. The golf can be better. There can be better public golf in Melbourne than there is.
Oh, and you can say, I'm sure you can say the same thing about Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, Hobart. Say the thing about every other major capital city around Australia.
And the government's investing a lot of money at the House of Golf, the home of golf at Sandringham, which will be terrific. That course is going to be a whole lot better than it is now. And it's a really good course now, but it can be so much better. Right next to Royal Melbourne, it can be miles better than it is. But just to have a little 9-hole course in the middle of the city with incredible views, either sell it for houses or make some decent golf there. But you can build a hospital with what that's worth.
Well, you need to get the contract and do something about this. That's what we need to advocate for. Are we allowed to do that on this podcast or not?
You can do whatever you want,
there
Andy.
you go, no problems. Okay, we'll get a break. Katherine Kirk to join us next.
The Golf Australia website is now the place to go to look up your handicap and so much more. Whether you're out and about on your phone or in the office trying to avoid work, just go to golf.org.au and punch your golf link number into the box at the top of the homepage. Who knows, maybe that last round was just good enough to put you in single figures. While you're on the site, check out the daily golf results at your club, view our course index for up-to-date ratings, read the latest golf news from home and abroad, listen to Australian golf podcasts and interviews, and watch video tournament highlights or tips to improve your game. It's everything a golf tragic could want. Visit golf.org.au today, the home of Australian golf.
Hello, I'm Charlie Smythe. This October is Golf Month and the perfect opportunity to share the golf bar with your mates. Get around it.
Well, there was a major championship played on the weekend, just gone, and it finished in, spectacular and, I've got to say, controversial circumstances. Everybody in the world of golf's been talking about it. Our very own Katherine Kirk was right in the middle of all the drama as it unfolded. Not ultimately, but as close to it as you can possibly be without being in the middle of the playoff. And she's been good enough to join us with her game in pretty good nick. Katherine, thanks for joining us on Inside the Ropes.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's great to have you on, and it's great to have you on a time when your game's obviously in pretty good nick, and I'm sure the boys will be keen to have a chat to you about that. But we're all trying to watch the Evian back here in Australia on the weekend, and it's kind of finished in it started in kind of crazy circumstances and finished similarly. So everything that kind of took place, in the opening round and at the end there, how did you kind of read some of the decisions that were made regarding that championship?
Well, it was interesting. I was actually first group out on Thursday morning,
right,
and the first 8 holes was pretty playable. With that being said, though, the back 9 was probably easier than the front 9 just based on the direction of the wind. So when we got to our 18th hole, which was the 9th of the day, it was almost impossible to play. Worst conditions I've seen on a golf course. So I'm not surprised they actually kind of scrapped around. I think they kind of made a good decision, obviously pulling us off the golf course, and then even though they tried to get us back out there was no way we could have gone back out. The golf course was just unplayable. So, the powers that be just decided to call it to a 54-hole event, which is unusual, but I think, they obviously kind of knew what they were doing because weather wasn't great Sunday afternoon when it finished even, and then certainly Monday wasn't great either. So
we spoke about that a bit earlier among ourselves, Katherine. Like it seemed like an odd decision. Is it something that the players spoke about, that it wasn't 72 holes and you didn't go into Monday?
Yeah, the players that were out there totally understood, obviously, the suspension of play and the calling of play for the first day. I think maybe they could have tried to play 72 holes, but ultimately, maybe on Saturday night, made a decision to draw it back to 54. A lot of players probably think they called it prematurely to 54 holes, but looking back on it, the only way we would have got 72 in is to have gone through to Monday, and like I said, Monday's weather was terrible as well.
Was that part of the consideration? There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, it's a major championship, and you got to play it to 72 holes, and even if it means finishing on Tuesday, whatever it takes, this thing needs to see itself out, to a full 4-round, kind of conclusion." Do you have a position on that? Do you think that, without taking anything away from Anna Norquist, do you think this kind of tournament will have a bit of an asterisk attached to it?
It's possible. I think that perhaps the other factor involved is that obviously that the Evian is our 5th major and certainly the newest major. So I think all the Evian folks are kind of still trying to figure out what that means exactly. They obviously had a big pro-am on Monday, which they would have perhaps have to maybe even cancel had we played through Monday. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people kind of calling different shots. So, certainly you wouldn't. I don't think you'd see that in the US Open or a A&A Inspiration or even the Women's PGA Championship. So, just a little different major, if you will.
And your role in it all, Katherine, the sort of up and down final round, it was compelling to watch. It was difficult to watch here in Australia because for some reason Fox Sports decided not to carry the final round, having sort of committed to the opening 3 rounds or as much of the opening 3 rounds as they could. But we've already had a chat about that at the top of the show. How did you kind of see yourself in terms of genuine contention on that back 9? It was such a roller coaster.
It was, yeah. There weren't leaderboards out on the golf course on every hole either, so I'm usually a leaderboard watcher, but right. I don't think I saw one until 16 green, and I saw Anna Nordqvist was at 10 under, and actually it was 15 green, and I birdied that par 5 to get to 9 under, and then I didn't see another one after really 16, so... it was kind of, I guess there was at one point maybe 3 or 4 of us tied it for the lead. And I was playing, obviously, with Maury Jatanagan, who had the lead for most of the day, and she made kind of an unforced error on a par 5. It was at number 13. Hit one OB, and it was kind of a goofy day with that many leader changes. So I obviously had a chance, but bogeys on 16, 17 kind of weren't at the right times, and I'm disappointed that I missed out by 1, but at the same time, finishing with a birdie on 18 was a good finish too. So I did. I gave it my best, and that's just how golf goes.
How do you think you will reflect on this, Katherine, in a couple of years' time? You came super close to the Women's British Open 7 years ago now, maybe. Hopefully you've got another crack at this if it doesn't work out that way, is that something you can reflect on happily, or is it something that really inspires you to have another crack in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's only going to be a confidence boost for me, really. Anna's a great player, and she's certainly, I think, proved herself in majors and regular events. So she played great on Sunday and deserved to win. But as far as my game is concerned, I still think my best golf's ahead of me, and I'd love to win a major one day. So I think I'll get more opportunities, but I just got to keep working hard.
So speaking of your best golf being ahead of you, the poor golf of the excuse me again, the poor golf of the last 2 years is obviously way behind you. I mean, you played so consistently well for 8 or 10 years, and the last couple of years were far from your best. And I look when we were out at Royal Melbourne a couple of years ago, it's like, well, she's kind of on the slide a bit. And then, this year's been amazing how well you've played. So, what happened?
A couple of things, really. My coach here in Wichita, who I've been working with for, I think, going on 5 years now, he realised we were kind of going down the wrong path a little bit with my full swing, and he found a guy out in California that we've been now working with for almost 2 years, and that's been probably the biggest difference maker. I've kind of eliminated. I used to hit quite a bad hook, and especially under pressure when the timing was a little off, it would even get pretty ugly. So I've basically eliminated that, and the ball striking's better, proximity to the hole is better, and in addition to that, my short game's better. So we're moving in the right direction. But I honestly think my ball striking, I think, is going to get better even more over the next year or two, and if I can keep the short game just as sharp, then that's why I feel like I can continue to play good golf. So
do you go out to California for lessons, or how does that work?
Yes, I go out there maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay.
I'm actually headed out there on Friday for 2 days before going down to New Zealand. And then I send both Dana and Josh swing video when I'm on the road, and they're pretty good about getting back to me if I need to do certain drills. They can tell me to work on. So
is Dana the guy in California?
He is, yes.
Dana, what's his surname?
Dahlquist.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, I got it. Yeah,
yep.
Okay, right.
He actually works with a lot of guys on the web.com, Grant Waite.
So he's a little Mac O'Grady stuff?
He is a Mac O'Grady
right,
guy.
Okay, I got it. No wonder you're playing better. That all makes sense now. It all makes perfect sense.
So Katherine, you're going through this kind of, you're rediscovering, your game. You haven't won for 7 years, and then you win, earlier this year. Did you kind of sense that was coming? Did you get, did you have kind of that rekindled confidence in what you were doing that was telling you that you were going to be able to get back to that kind of status?
Yeah, I keep pretty good stats, and I knew my ball striking was getting better based on proximity to the hole. Not to get too technical, but I learned a lot back in 2007 too, when I won for like I said, maybe it was 2008. I won for the first time, but at the start of that year, I'd been striking it really well, and I was kind of getting frustrated that I hadn't had better performances. And my coach at the time said to me, "Hey, you need to be really patient because you are better, and it will happen, but you can't force it." And so this year was kind of a similar thing. I knew I was hitting it well, and my short game was getting better. So, just a matter of kind of being, I guess, working on everything I needed to, but also it's just kind of waiting for my time. And certainly that win in Wisconsin, I didn't expect it, but when you're playing well, you just kind of you ride that as long as you can, and I was fortunate enough to pull it off.
Were you ever close to just seriously just packing up and walking?
Yeah, 2015 and even 16 were quite rough years, and I remember finishing, would have been kind of late August last year, and my husband started a new company, and I actually went into their office for about a month and did paperwork for them because my season was over, and I was saying to myself, you know what, golf, if I'm not competitive and I'm not doing what I think I should be doing, and maybe I need to look at doing something else. But then the office gig, I was like, no, I couldn't handle this. This is not for me. So That might have been a blessing in disguise, actually.
That's what you need. You need to get a real job just to remind you how important and how attractive being a pro golfer is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. I didn't like having to get dressed up every day and do my hair. I much prefer, putting on golf clothes and a cap and walking out the door and being outside.
As somebody who watches, it's funny. Like somebody who just sits back here in their lounge room and watches a lot of golf. I don't know whether you've noticed this about yourself, but the way you carry yourself on a golf course now, you even look different in the last 6 months. You have this kind of presence about you now when you're watching. You play in these tournaments on the LPGA or the major championships around the place. Am I making that up, or do you can you physically see a difference in the way that you kind of getting around a golf course?
I think I know that I'm capable of playing good golf again, and obviously, the wind kind of helps me realise I can do it out here, and I can kind of maybe still compete with the young guns. So I can't tell a difference, but I certainly know that my confidence level is higher than what it has been. So that's the fun part, knowing that you can play good golf and pull shots off under pressure.
So, Katherine, you led the Women's Australian Open from memory's first round this year?
Yes.
Was that the start of what this season's developed into, or was that an aberration, or did that sort of experience in rounds 2, 3 and 4 sort of set the wheels in motion for you to realise that there is something still there?
Yeah, it was textbook that first round at the Aussie Open, and I've always known I could shoot good scores, but putting 4 rounds together has always been a little bit challenging for me. And the weeks that I figure it out, obviously, I come pretty close to winning. So, it's funny. I would say that when I won in Wisconsin back in July, it was obviously 4 really good rounds together. And then, even though last week was only 3 rounds, it was still 3 rounds under par. And to win these days on tour, the level of competition is that much better. So you have to be sharp every round. You can't just have 3 rounds, good rounds, and then 1 average round. It just won't let you win these days. So that'll be something that I try and work on, obviously, going forward, is to figure out how to be more consistent over 4 days. But I think I can figure it out.
Katherine, your couple of good months in particular have got you right up in the world rankings, inside the top 50 in the world, and most importantly right now, number 2 in Australia. I understand the Olympics is something that has flashed through your mind, and especially your dealings with Kari over the years perhaps have instilled that in you as well. Is Japan on your mind big time?
I wouldn't say big time, but it is in the back of my mind for sure. But Aussie golf is for the girls right now is pretty darn strong. So obviously I'd love to make the team in 2020, but if it doesn't happen, then so be it. Obviously I missed out last year, but I think there's no reason I can't try and make the team, and I think it's a good goal to have. It's a long way off, certainly, but I think I can do it, and just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
Okay, we'll just take a little break there because there's been a pretty significant event played up in Queensland, Hayes, that you know a little bit about.
Yeah, the Katherine Kirk Classic was played at Maroochy River this week, and we had a really great winner, a young winner, 15-year-old from Queensland, Cassie Porter, who's joined us on the line. Cassie, welcome to Inside the Ropes.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
That must mean a lot to you.
Yeah, it was great. It was a big achievement.
And really important to win an event named in someone's honour like that.
Yeah, definitely. I look up to Katherine Kirk, so it was a big honour to win the event.
Well, aside from the great achievement you've made at Maroochy River this week, we've got a special surprise for you, actually, Cassie. There's someone on the line who wants to talk to you.
Oh, okay.
Is that special someone there who wants to have a chat to you, Cassie?
Sorry,
yes,
no.
Cassie, congratulations.
Oh, hello. How are you? Thank you.
I'm great. How are you? You must be on top of the world, huh?
Yeah, it feels great.
Cassie, do you know who that is talking to you right now?
Is this Katherine?
It is, yes.
Oh, wow.
That was an awesome final round.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
This is a great moment in broadcasting history here, guys. If you feel free to talk among yourselves for a second, but we're just really thrilled that you could share a moment here, Katherine, with Cassie, because we know that she does mean a lot to you.
Yeah, no, this is great, honestly. Oh, I'm so honoured to be able to speak to you.
Well, it's a surprise for me too, so I wish I could have been there to see it. You obviously, you played great in that last round, and we're a very worthy champion, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Katherine, it's such golf, you've got your team that, help you get to where you want to get to, but ostensibly it's a pretty individual sport. Are you conscious of the fact that, on the other side of the planet, you are actually still a role model to, this young wave of players that, hopefully going to emulate your feats one day?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, I always looked up to Jan Stevenson and Kari Webb, and even though I didn't really get to see them play, I always kind of knew where they were and what they were doing, and certainly appreciated the fact that they grew up in Queensland and played all of the same junior tournaments that I did. So, I think, it's nice to be able to still kind of have a feel for what's going on back home, and certainly I'd love to, provide opportunities for girls to play more golf and obviously kickstart their careers too.
That's got to sound pretty special, Cassie.
Yeah, it's amazing, honestly.
So, Katherine, if you had one piece of advice for
all the girls to help out. I know Rachel Hetherington does a lot for junior golf in Australia, and Shani Waugh does too, and Kari obviously with her series. So it's important that we help out and provide opportunities for young girls to get going with golf.
So, Katherine, given that you've witnessed the rise of Korean golf, if you had two pieces of advice to a 15-year-old who wants to be, I assume, on the LPGA Tour, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give that the Koreans do really well, and one piece of advice that you would want to avoid as part of the Korean drive to the top of the game?
That's a great...
Does that make any sense?
I think one of the things they do really well is obviously they're very technically sound. And they have great short games. And, any kid that I meet these days, I always tell them, hey, if you're not practicing your short game at least 50% of the time, then you need to change that up because it's critical. Tee to green, a lot of players are pretty much the same, but, you can really make a difference around the greens and on the greens. And I think maybe the thing, though, that the Asian players perhaps miss out on is they don't quite get the concept of balance, and I think a lot of them burn out faster because of it. They might have great careers, but they're short careers. So I always tell kids to, try and play maybe another sport or have an interest outside of golf that you can enjoy because it just helps you keep balance in your life.
Perfect answer. I would have thought. Great advice.
Cassie, this will be forever available to you to reference back. It'll be on the golf.org.au website. So anytime you need to remember what Katherine Kirk's advice to you was, it'll be there forever. Congratulations on winning that event. And
thank you so much. I'll definitely be referring to that.
and hopefully it's been another little kick along for you to hear from the lady whose name's on the event that you triumphed.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good on
Thanks,
you.
Cassie.
Hey, Katherine, we'll let you go too. You've been really generous with your time. It's great to see you back playing the sort of golf you are, the success you had that you've talked about a couple of times on the way through with us today, earlier in the year, and then so close at Evian. Anybody who's watching you play at the moment knows that it's going to be more rather than less in the coming years. The game looks to be in really good nick, and I think we've got a lot to look forward to from Katherine Kirk in the coming years. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
My pleasure, and hope Cassie keeps up the good work too.
I'm sure she will. Katherine Kirk and Cassie Porter joining us on Inside the Ropes.
Hi, this is Sherelle McMahon. Swing Fit is the fun, healthy, social way for women to get started in golf. You'll learn the basics of the golf swing and how to putt over a 6-week program and get your whole body moving through yoga and Pilates-style exercises. You don't need any golf knowledge or equipment. Simply turn up in comfy clothing and get started. You'll be surrounded by like-minded people and receive constant support. So get outdoors, meet new friends and learn a sport that you can play for the rest of your life. To find a program near you, visit swingfit.com.au.
G'day, my name's Hannah Green. Thanks to Inside the Ropes for making all my travels on the Symetra Tour so much fun.
Trying to continue the road to the Australian Open series, and it's getting ever closer. We go back to 1986. Did you actually contend here, Clates, before we get to our special guest, the man who actually won it? Did you ever
No.
stick your nose in the frame?
No, I was like, where did I finish? 15?
Yeah, 15.
No,
yeah.
never a chance to win.
Never got your nose anywhere
Never,
near
no.
contending? Righto.
No.
Gee, some good names up above you, and the one that stood tall at the end of it all was Rodger Davis, and he's been good enough to join us on Inside the Ropes. Great to have you as part of the show, Rodger.
That's not a problem.
86. This is the first question I ask all of you fellas when we get you on the show. The memories from that Australian Open, it's as every year goes by, it gets further away. Are they still sharp?
Especially the second shot I hit into 17, because I was actually playing with Swampy, Graham Marsh, and he was one shot in front of me playing 17, and I hit it past him off the tee, even though it was into quite a strong wind. And he leaked his second shot into the trap, and I hit a 5-iron for my second shot to a foot. And he made 5, I made 3, and all of a sudden, game over.
It would have been unusual for Marshy to make a bogey out of a bunker.
I must admit.
He was probably lucky to make bogey.
He did thin it a little bit.
Well, there's renowned poor bunker player, was it?
Have you ever seen a worse bunker player amongst a group of players? Obviously a tremendous player. Have you ever seen a worse bunker player than Marshy?
No, I don't think I have. I must admit, and this bunker, when I sort of walked up onto the green, I had a quick look into the bunker to see where it was. It was just on a nice little upslope. He had plenty of green to work with, and he thinned it onto the back edge.
Well, that's the easiest bunker shot at Metro, the right-hand bunker at 17. I mean, it's probably the one easy bunker shot on the whole course.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree. Yeah.
So, Rog, you talk about what happened on 17, and you stick your nose, you get past Graham Marsh at that point, but you've still got Ian Baker-Finch, who's behind you, playing 17 when you do what you do on 18. Can you tell us about how the scoreboard and the lead change and how all that played out in that kind of 5 or 10 minutes?
It was always fairly close, but when I didn't birdie 16, and Finchy, as Clates knows, is one of the best wedge players. And, he'd sort of just go 3-iron or 4-wood or 3-wood, whatever, down the middle, and straight into his gun area of, a wedge or a sand wedge. And, at the back of your mind, even though you're not trying to think about other people's games, you're thinking, well, he's going to make 3. So, that could sort of tip the scales. But, stand on the 18th tee, and he's on 17, and the board changed, and he hadn't birdied 16. That just gives you that little bit more adrenaline, I suppose. I find it hard to understand how some guys say they never look at a leaderboard because they're everywhere, and, you really want to know where you are in the tournament.
Yeah, well, worse than not birding, he actually bogeyed it.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, so he went bogey.
He
went bogey, double bogey, driving it into that bunker that you snuck past on 17, which was I remember you were way down long and left on 17 in the perfect spot, and you probably missed that bunker by 2 or 3 yards, but Finchy went in there and made 6, and it was bizarre how it changed so quickly.
Yeah, and it can, that's the thing that one of the great things about this. You guys down there on the Sandbelt golf courses, there's such great designs that, there's certain areas you just can't go. And if you do, you're in trouble, serious trouble. Like 18, the par 4, the rough down the left-hand side was so thick that you just couldn't go in there. So, you had to flirt with the right-hand bunker, and as it turned out, I just missed it. But Marshy drove into the bunker on the right, so sort of that, made it even harder for himself.
but there's all little catches on those sandbelt courses that you've really got to have a good game plan and really know where you're trying to hit it to. And, you know, with the change of wind, it's a change of strategy as well. So this is most probably why a lot of the Australian players just love playing in Melbourne.
What did it mean to you, Rodger? I mean, you won a lot of tournaments, you know, all over the place. What does winning the National Open mean to you?
Well, it's, you know, one of the things when you start off, I suppose, is, you know, you're on the practice putting green and, you know, you're sort of challenging your mate for maybe a penny or whatever it was in those days. And it's always that 6-footer that you're going to win the Australian Open. You know, and then all of a sudden you turn pro and it's a 6-footer to win the US Masters or something like that. But I think your Australian title is something that you want on your resume. One I didn't win, which, you know, at the time I suppose I was a little bit disappointed, but it doesn't sort of worry me too much now because I won the Australian Open, was the Australian Amateur. You know, and when you're sort of playing well as an amateur, you know, that's the prize that you're after as well. So, you know, your country's title, I think, means a hell of a lot to most people.
Clayton's chest just pumped out a bit then when you said that, Rod.
Yeah, well, I swapped the Australian Amateur for the Australian Open. So speaking about country's famous sportsman, Keith Miller used to caddy for you. Can you talk a little bit about the influence he had on you?
When I turned professional, I didn't want to do my apprenticeship at Pymble, where I was an amateur member, mainly because I didn't want to buff all my mates' clubs. So I went down to Longreef, and I met two guys down there that used to play together all the time, a guy called Frank Bruce, who was in the rag trade, and Keith Miller. And, you know, I used to either play with them on a Wednesday or a Friday and got to know both of them really well. And when I turned pro and got into my first one as a pro, the Australian Open at the Australian, and then I was going to play the Chrysler Classic down in Melbourne at Royal Melbourne, Nugget just said, you know, I sort of talked to him as well, and he just said, well, you know, I'm going to be down in Sydney and Melbourne. How about I caddy for you? And I thought, you beauty, because, you know, he had that ability, and I assume that's why he was loved so well in cricket, that he would say the right thing at the right time. And one of the things we played with Nicholas, and I suppose this one game of golf put a huge influence on my golf career, is that, you know, playing against Nicholas in 76, Nugget said to me after that last round, he said, you know, you've got a lot of thinking to do here. He said, because I saw what Nicholas did today, and I hope you did. And you know where all the pins were. Just go back and go through his round. And, you know, Nicholas had always made the statement, you can't make birdies out of the rough. You know, like the equipment's allowing the guys to do it these days. But in our day, if you were in the rough, you got these flyers, you got just about everything. So it was hard to get it close to the flag. And at the Australian, there were 13 driving holes. 11 of the 13, I was within like 5 yards of him or just past him with a driver, and he's hitting driver. But there were two par fives into the wind that he let fly and, you know, knocked it. I hit my Sunday best, and he knocked it past me by about 40 yards. But the one great thing that I learned was he'd hit a little fade or a little draw off the tee, mainly fades, but he never had to go over anything. It was the easiest 66 I've ever seen a guy play, and he was never going over a close trap or anything. He was always going up the green, you know, feeding towards the hole. And that's why his score looked so easy. Like some of the time I had to run for cover. I couldn't get at the flag, so I had to go middle of the green and two putts from sort of 30 feet. Whereas he could have a crack at virtually every flag in that 18 holes. And it was just, you know, when I sort of got home and went through it, I thought, wow, geez, have I learned a lot about the game of golf. No.
Were you able to kind of put that into practice yourself thereafter, Rog?
Well, I tried to.
Yeah.
You know, and especially on the links courses, and I won most of my money in Melbourne, and on those sandbelt courses, Royal Melbourne, you know, you've got to, when they put certain pins in those greens over a little hump or something, you've got to be able to put your drive in a position, even though it's an 80-yard wide fairway, you've got to be able to put your drive in a certain position to be able to hit it into a little upslope. And if you don't, then you've got to run for cover. There's little subtleties all the time, which I would have to say he had that influence. And that's one of the reasons I've rated him the best, because his golf course management was just second to none.
Well, one of the great things about Melbourne is the middle of the fairway is never the best place to be.
Yeah, correct. I totally agree.
It's always the edge. Now, speaking about Australian Opens, this will be hard for anyone to believe, but you finished fifth, I think, at Lake Karrinyup in 1974 as a pro.
Well, yes. Well,
yeah.
I was.
Yeah, so just can you tell us how much money you won for finishing fifth as a pro at Lake Karrinyup?
Well, I didn't.
I know, just to point out how ridiculous the rules used to be.
I was under the apprenticeship system, and Qantas wanted both Noel Ratcliffe and myself to play. So, they flew us over there, and, they put us up, which was fantastic, and I ran fifth. But part of the PGA rules, because I hadn't passed certain exams, and you couldn't go for those exams until you'd done your first year, I ran fifth and couldn't take the money.
Unbelievable.
Which is just you look back, it's, dare I say it, it's a bit like the gay marriage debate now. You look back and go, did that really happen?
Yeah.
I mean, you could play, so the rule was you could play the first 6 months or the first year, you couldn't take any money?
Couldn't take any money for the first year until you passed phase one or something.
Oh, just
no wonder they wanted to fly you over there, Rog.
But the worst part was, the next year, they changed the rules and allowed Harry Berwick, George Bell,
Peter Headland,
that's right. And
Terry Gale, probably. Yep.
Terry Gale, I think that was the fourth one.
Yeah.
They allowed them to turn pro from amateur. So Noel Ratcliffe and myself applied, and they said no because you're already in the system. So we still had to do the 3 years in a pro shop.
Yeah, It was bizarre. While we're talking about links courses, you had a great chance to win. You were leading the Open in 1979 when Seve won on the 14th hole. So talk a little bit about that and more about, you played a lot with Seve and saw how great he was and the shots he could hit. I know you've got some great stories about Seve and how he played the game.
Well, one of the best stories came from his caddy, and we know how good he was with a 3-iron out of a bunker. He used to do exhibition matches with a 3-iron, and he could get it inside, I'd say, 80% of the PGA Tour players with a 3-iron. That's how good he was. And I still remember Pete Coleman. We're playing the German Open, and we're talking now in September.
Yep.
And he's hit it up the back of the bunker on the downslope, short-sighted himself. He had absolutely no shot. And I'd say there's this 2 inches of rough just out of the bunker that the greenkeeper forgot to cut. And anyway, he hits this shot off the downslope, as soft as you could believe, and pitched it in this 2-inch area. And it dribbles down to about 6 foot past. Now, I thought he'd be going to get it on the green, but it was 6 foot past. So I said to Pete Coleman, going to the next tee, because I was running third or fourth at the time and he was leading. I said, Pete, that's one of the best bunker shots I have seen. He said, mate, that's nothing. He said, the TPC at Sawgrass? Mm-hmm. I said, oh, yeah. He said, he failed to get it up and down on the 16th out of the front right trap the last round. we're talking the second week of March or third week of March. He said he failed to get it up and down. He said, and that shot I thought was going to break his run because he's got every bunker shot up and down since then.
God.
Now, you're talking 6 months
Wow.
of majors of everything.
Wow.
Well, the Open at Lytham, that 79 Open, he got it up and down, I think, 14 out of 15 times out of the bunkers that week.
Yeah. And the thing at Lytham that killed me, I was on 14 and I took a gamble off the tee with the driver hitting it over the left rough, and it paid off, and I'm in the middle of the fairway going in with 4-iron. If you hit it down the fairway, you couldn't get home in 2 because it was so windy. And I had to back off my 4-iron because Sevy's over the back of the 13th in the rough and hold his chip shot. And I mean, and then of course we know the rest of the stories out of the car park at 16 and so on and so forth. But you know, he just had that undefinable it, and you knew something was going to happen, and that's why people followed him. You know, they were just waiting for it to happen.
So, Rodger, he's a freak. I mean, there's not been many shot makers like him. You won 7 times in Europe, and I hope we get the chance to talk to you about the day you beat Clayton, in 1990 before we wrap this up. But Langer beat you 3 times in Europe. You finished second to him 3 times in Europe, once by 1 shots and twice in playoffs. And he was a perennial who came down here and really supported the Australian tour. Ballesteros was the freak. Was there a tougher player? You were renowned as being a really tough competitor. Was there a tougher competitor than Langer in your time in golf?
I think there were the thing about Langer, and this to people that are listening might sound a little bit strange, but in my career there have been 2 guys, Bernard Langer and Billy Dunk, that have had the ability to hit it flag high. Now, if you slightly mishit a shot or whatever, you're going to come up, 15 feet short and, to the right, most probably 30 feet right or something like that. But those 2 guys, even if they looked as though they mishit a shot, it was still flag high. And, they make the right connection all the time. It's hard to explain what it was. And that's why both of them broke so many course records, because, both of them could putt like hell as well. But Langer and Dunkey were the 2 that had that ability. And, of course, they were both fairly tough out there, especially Langer. Look at him still at 59. He's winning everything on the Champions Tour,
Yeah.
Billy was he was an incredibly underrated player.
Oh, totally.
You played with him more than I did, but I played with him a lot, and wow, he was a tremendous player.
Yeah, he really was. You can't say much more about him.
Did Dunk play much overseas? You two? I remember him sort of dominating and forever being in contention here, but I don't remember much about him playing overseas. Did he take his game abroad much?
He played in Japan quite a bit, but there's a famous story about him, Rodger. You'll know. He flew to Heathrow and sat in the hotel for 3 days and flew home again.
That's right.
Bad weather. I'm going home.
Right.
Yeah. And he didn't like travelling. That was the thing about Dunkey. He didn't like travelling.
So Rodger, when you in 1990, when you get to the playoff in the Wang 4 Stars, and you're up against Bill Malley, Mark McNulty, and Michael Clayton, were you feeling reasonably confident? I mean, how were you feeling staring down those 3 blokes?
Well, I thought that it was really nice of them that they felt sorry for the poor old battling pro in the group.
Jeez,
and they let me win.
I'll tell you what was really bad about that was Bill Malley, who's now a caddy at Whisper Rock where Jeff Ogilvy plays, and McNulty went out on the first hole, and I went 6 more holes, and Bill Malley and McNulty and I got the same amount of money.
Right.
I thought, at least I deserved a little more than they did for grinding through 5 more holes of the playoff.
Did you blow it? Did you have the chance?
Nothing happened. the 17th was an easy par 5, and I parred it, and Rodger beat it, and nothing unusual happened. We just we parred the 18th, which was a hard hole, and we birdied, birdied 17, which was an easy hole. So we kind of went 3 birdies, 3 pars, and Rodger birdied 17, and I bogeyed it. But I'll tell you who it came from was Squirrel, who caddied for Jeff Ogilvy when he won the US Open. So it was Squirrel's still out there caddying, amazingly.
Yeah.
And where does Jimmy come from, Rodger? Before we came on, you referred to him as Clayton's Jimmy. Can you tell us where that comes from?
Good question. It's been around for a fair while.
Well, it's the Scottish equivalent of mate. And I used to call caddies Jimmy. I could never remember their names, so I just called them all Jimmy. So somehow I finished up being Jimmy. So.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Rodger, I've got to ask you a non-golf question. My boss, John Sutherland, has gone through the archives of the Australian Open photos recently, and he's found some absolute crackers. One with a big fag hanging out of your mouth on a tee. It's an absolute beauty. And, of course, everyone remembers your magnificent fashion that you wore. You made popular, or one of the guys who made that popular. Talk us about the cigarettes first, and then maybe what inspired you to go the fashion route?
Well, the cigarettes, it was just one of those things. When I sort of was 15 or 16 or whatever, it was the in thing to smoke. In fact, when I turned pro, I'd have to say that more than 50% of the guys used to smoke. And then over the years, it sort of went out the back door, and I tried once to give it away, serious try, and I'd really struggled for 19 months, and then I got robbed in Mexico playing on the Champions Tour, and as a result, I went straight back on the cigarettes. But, a guy with a 9mm at your head is not much fun.
Makes smoking look safe.
Yeah.
But then I sort of, I made my mind up that I was going to give it away, and, that was 11, 12 years ago, and, I'll never smoke again. It's the best thing I've ever done. The worst thing that most probably happened was, I sort of was going through marriage problems at the time, and I gave up the cigarette. So, I took up sort of eating and drinking and put on a hell of a lot of weight. And, luckily, well, not luckily, sorry, that's a bad term, but luck for me in some ways is my partner, Julie, has got had bowel cancer, and she's just finished the chemo. But we did a pact in February that if she's got to go through all the problems of the chemo and bad health, cause of it, I'd lose some weight. Well, I'm now 21 kilos lighter, and I've come in 6 inches around the stomach, and Jimmy won't even recognise.
Good job, well done. That's not easy to do.
So do the +4s fit you again?
I tried them on the other day, and I'm just trying to think of the right tournament to wear them.
Oh, the Dave Mercer Kalara Pro-Am, Dodge. You got to bring him out.
That was the one I was thinking.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
What did those +4s do to your career, mate?
I'd have to say that they made you noticeable, and they also made you concentrate that little bit harder. Because when I first started to wear them, I mean, the cat calls and all this were out there. And, if you didn't sort of, you weren't concentrating too well before that, it made you concentrate even harder. And but then people got used to it, and they were actually very comfortable to wear. Because mine weren't the real baggy ones. Mine were a bit more streamlined, and they were very comfortable.
Well, mate, on that note, you're synonymous with those, and they're synonymous with you. And we started having a chat about the '86 Australian Open triumph at Metro, and we've sort of wandered all over the place, which has been enormous fun for us, Rodger. Congratulations on winning, the Open Championship back then when you won it, and everything else you've done in the great game. We really appreciate you joining us on Inside the Ropes. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Rodger Davis joining us on the show.
G'day, I'm My Golf Ambassador Jason Day. I'm really excited to be an ambassador for My Golf, Australian Golf's national junior program, jointly run by Golf Australia and the PGA. My Golf is every Aussie kid's first step on their golfing pathway. It's all about teaching children the basic skills of golf in a safe and healthy environment, and just as importantly, about the life skills that golf can teach you that distinguish our sport from the rest. Remember to visit mygolf.org.au for more information.
Hi, this is Aaron Price, and October is Golf Month. Golf Month is the perfect time to share with your family and friends, so get out there this October and have a go.
Okay, time to wrap it up. Hazy, Clayton's had to go. Off the end of that, he was pushing it right to the end. He's got a very important meeting he has to attend to, so he, in the break, alerted us to that. He sends his due regards to everybody listening. The last bits and pieces, Golf Month. What's going on?
Well, the key thing with Golf Month is, as we've said for the last 3 or 4 months, Andy, is to get your club involved. We're still actively encouraging and recruiting all clubs and facilities and putt-putt courses and speed golf and foot golf, whatever you can, whatever you're interested in, get it involved, get it registered on our website and get people along who don't necessarily get to play golf or a variation thereof. It's all about catching the golf bug. Golf Month this October, Andy. So the big thing in terms of a prize that would perhaps lure people into actually doing this is we're still giving people the chance to win one of 4 ultimate golf bug adventures to Barnbougle. I've said that correctly.
Barnbougle, as you've been going with.
I've been going with Barnbougle, and I got reprimanded very politely during the week that it's Barnbougle. So Barnbougle, thank you to the learned listener. Cape Wickham, Ocean Dunes, and, of course, Lost Farm. You get to play all 4 courses. And I didn't realise this, Andy. On our golfmonth.com.au website, you actually get to play 38 holes at Lost Farm and Barnbougle because there's 20 holes at Lost Farm. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So you get what would that be, a 74-hole golf experience on those magnificent courses. So it makes it even better. So just it's courtesy of Golf Australia and the Air Adventure Golf Tours. All you've got to do is, on the Golf Month website, golfmonth.com.au, tell us in 150 words or less who you're going to share the golf bug with this October.
There you go. That's all you need to do. A Golf Victoria update.
Yeah, and on the back of Cassie Porter earlier on, there's a lot of junior tournaments going on around Australia that are, really important in the big scheme of things down the track. Golf Victoria's got their Boys and Girls Championships coming up, I think the next week from memory, and I apologise I haven't got it written down in front of me, but what we are doing here in mentioning it is that Golf Victoria is doing a live stream. So, when Golf Victoria is fully aware that it's not going to have 10,000 people hanging out of the rafters wanting to burst through the gates and see it. But what it does allow people right around Australia to check out some of the best talent,
awesome.
and the the honour roll of that tournament is phenomenal.
Mark Leishman, he won it many, many years ago, didn't he?
Yeah, correct. And we've spoken about Suo. We speak about her most weeks. She's a recent winner, and Eliza Hetherington and Todd Sin, and all these people coming through, all past winners of this, and it's live stream on Golf Victoria through their social media channels and on their website. Fantastic initiative. Get around it.
That's an awesome thing to. That's a great way of taking the event to an audience that, if they want to find it, they can find it. It's a great thing to do.
It's a variation.